Hello there, and welcome to the next in my series of LEGO Back to the Future DeLorean builds. So in my last video in this series I built the official LEGO DeLorean, which is a discontinued LEGO set with about 200 or 300 parts in it. Cost about £150 on eBay, so I used my magical parting out method to build that set for £30. I'll leave a link to that video down below. Now, it was alright for the money, but you know, quite a simple model, didn't take very long to build, and not a very big or impressive model. So I'm basically looking at other MOCs to build a better DeLorean time machine, and this is the latest. Now this is virtually brand new, this MOC. It is new out this year, and I will leave a link to it on Rebrickable down below. It's got nearly 900 parts. The instructions cost about $11.99. So firstly, looking at this side by side with the LEGO model, as you would expect, given that the LEGO model only contains a few hundred parts, this model is a lot bigger. In fact, by my reckoning, it is about double the length of the official LEGO model. I'm not a huge fan of the small builds. They're all right for just, you know, something to do in an afternoon. This, to be honest, is about the size of build that I like, you know, 2 or 3 days, an hour or two each day. So there are a lot of small LEGO DeLorean MOCs out there, but to be honest, this one is the only one I could find that looks quite like a DeLorean and isn't tiny or absolutely huge. So I think this might be quite a good middle ground. Before we get on to looking at the model in more detail, how did I buy it? Well, I used the LEGO parting out feature. You can actually create a wanted list for the parts that you need for the model using Rebrickable. So I did that, and I bought this across about 7 or 8 stores on Bricklink. As you'll see here, the total including shipping from a few of the sellers was about £70 odd, including shipping from all the sellers that I bought all the parts from. It cost about £80. Then you've got to factor in the instructions, that's $11.99. I'm not being entirely truthful. There is one part in this model, it's a really hard to get hold of part that's only available on one LEGO set, and that is this damned windscreen. Now, unfortunately, it is the right kind of size and tapered shape for a DeLorean, but this windscreen by itself, because it's only available in one set, it costs about, in fact I've seen it as expensive as £50. So to get around that, I actually bought the set that contains this windscreen. It's a great 3-in-1 LEGO official set actually. I built the sports car and I've nicked the windscreen and I put it on this model. And incidentally, this 3-in-1 sports car actually has gull wing doors as well. Isn't that a coincidence? I wonder if the creator of these models got the idea of building a DeLorean having built that set. I was able to get that LEGO 3-in-1 set for about £35, including shipping. So including all the shipping from Bricklink and the instructions, and okay, let's include the windscreen, this model in its entirety has cost a little over £100 to put together. It's about standard. I'm happy with it for a model of this size and detail. But let me know down below if you think I've been ripped off. So let's take a look at this model. So from every angle, it does look like a DeLorean. There's no doubt about it. From the back and the characteristic vents on the back and the Mr. Fusion and all the detail on the back of this model, which incidentally was really quite fun to put together. There are a couple of length 4 grey bars missing here because I forgot to order them, so I've ordered them now. So from all that detail on the back to the folded down wheels at the side, details along the side of the model, right to the front, it's got that characteristic DeLorean pose. It looks very realistic. I do have one criticism, and I don't know whether or not it's justified or not. Looking at it from the top, it seems like quite an elongated model. Like it looks longer than it should be. I could just look up the DeLorean specifications and work out whether or not it's an optical illusion. Often when you build like Lego cars, they look a bit squat, don't they? A bit kind of stumpy. But this looks really kind of long and thin. It doesn't completely spoil my enjoyment of the model, to be honest. One thing I particularly like about this model is the detail on the grille below the sort of front bumper. Don't know why, but I find that quite satisfying. It just looks very solid. The wheels on this model do go from a flying pose, which takes a little bit of getting used to, but you can do by just flicking the wheels down like that. It looks really good, the right sort of position, and then you can also switch them back into the driving pose. Now, this brings me on to a point about this model. It's not a model that you would play with, okay? It is a model that you would display, because if you put all the wheels into the driving pose and then try and wheel it along a surface, they will slip out of their holes, so to speak. Another articulated point on the model is the front bonnet, which obviously, because the engine of this car is in the back, in the front you've actually got the trunk, or the boot if you're English, which is surprisingly detailed. Actually, you could store plutonium in there, couldn't you? So yes, it's got the gull wing doors, but they are manually operated. You have to flick them up like this, demonstrating that this model really isn't for playing with. There's a particularly weak joint here. Some of it is because I've got, you know, used bricks off Bricklink that probably haven't got the clutch power of brand new bricks. So you can put the model in whichever pose you like. You can put it in the broken gull wing door pose if you're that way inclined. But anyway, yeah, gull wings open or gull wings closed, it's entirely up to you. And then you get to the pièce de résistance, which is the cockpit of the car, which is, you know, really exceptionally, it's colourful and exceptionally detailed. I particularly like these clear tiles at the top there, the coloured tiles, they look really cool. The ingenious way that the flux capacitor has been constructed from 3 little levers there. I like it because it's not just a printed brick, it's actually a physical thing that you can look at. What appears to be possibly the handbrake, lots of dials, and the way that they've done the time dials, but the way they've done that using green, orange and red transparent bricks, that looks really cool. A lot of attention to detail has been paid here, and you can even pivot the little seats actually. You know, I'm not sure why you would do that, but thinking about it, I mean, a Lego minifigure would probably be a bit small for this model, but it wouldn't look stupid to put a Doc and Marty minifigure in here. I could do a Doc and Marty impression, shall I?
Marty, I built a DeLorean out of Lego.
Doc, why did you do that? That was more like Kermit the Frog. Doc, why did you build a time machine? Obviously, this isn't an official Lego set, so it doesn't come with official Lego instructions. The guy who made this, I happen to know that he used I think there's something called Lego Creator or something. I'm not a good enough designer by any stretch. In fact, I'm not actually a Lego designer at all. I couldn't even if you asked me to design a box out of Lego, I would struggle. He used software to design this. It automatically generates instructions from what I can tell. On the whole, pretty good. If you can follow Lego instructions, you can follow this. But there were a handful of parts of the instructions that were a geometric impossibility. You know, it asks you to put a piece of Lego in, and you can't without deconstructing what's there already, because it doesn't seem to take into account sometimes the collision with studs. And this is also highlighted by another point, which I'm currently working with. Can I say I'm currently working with the designer? That it's boastful and it's not even true. I've contacted the designer and we talked slightly about it. I think there's a problem with this model, this little curved brick at the back here. When you put them on both sides, you put them together, it forces some other bricks apart. And the guy basically said to me that the software he uses says there's no collision or problem there, and he'd be interested to see a picture of it. And I'm hoping that if I show him a picture of it, maybe even send him this review, he will be able to resolve that. I feel like I should put the doors back on to make it look like a proper DeLorean. So the build itself was, you know, really enjoyable, and you know, it's quite exciting, I have to say, to part out a set like this, to get lots of different packages come through the post and see what you've got in each delivery. There is a small disadvantage to that, which is, well, actually there are several. There's the environmental impact of all the parcels and all the plastic bags that Lego sellers insist on using. I did something on Twitter about this, and you know, we had some good ideas actually. You could use like a cardboard tray with different dividers, and I think somebody suggested something really good. Oh yeah, heat sealable bags. So just get a bag and heat seal it into separate sections, so you haven't got 1,000 tiny little bags. It's a really good idea, and I hope Lego sellers do that. But the other thing is that you're reliant on the Lego sellers to send out their items at approximately the same time. I ordered from, say 7 or 8 sellers, and one of them didn't dispatch, I believe, until about 2 weeks after I placed my initial order. I thought, well, okay, a bit of a pain, but at least I can just start the build. Well, let me tell you, I couldn't complete instruction number 1 on this until that last parcel had arrived. It was a little bit frustrating, but let's face it, at the moment, we haven't really got much to do other than sit around and wait for Lego parts to arrive, have we? So is this better than the official Lego set? 100%. And it's still good value for money. It's about 3 times the number of bricks and about 3 times the price. So, it's completely in keeping with the Lego one. It was a pleasure to build. It's a beautiful model, and it's the right kind of size for me personally. And as I say, I'm going to leave a link to this beautiful model down below. I make no commission from it, because really this is the only option if you want to buy a Lego DeLorean for about £100. But say you are rolling in money and you want a really big Lego project. Well, there is an even bigger Lego DeLorean. There are reviews out there, but I'm going to make my own because I fancy building that model, and why not? There is one that's called the UCS Lego DeLorean. Contains about 2.5 to 3 times the parts that this has got. I can tell you that it's also 2.5 to 3 times the price as well. I haven't added it all up. I've had to order across about 18 separate Bricklink stores, and not all the parts have arrived yet, but I've got a mountain of Lego parts. It's all very exciting. Looking forward to seeing that, comparing that with this set and the other Lego DeLorean. So do subscribe so you don't miss those videos in future. Finally, welcome to all the new people to my channel. Had a little bit of a resurgence in the last month, perhaps because everyone's got nothing else to do. Welcome to all of you, and I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you build this beautiful Lego DeLorean, and I shall see you next time for another video.